And I'm going to stop that. Sorry for one second. I'm going to. Oh, it's not doing what I want to. Okay, no worries. And I'm going to hand it over first, I think, to Laurelie, please. If you can give us a couple of sentences about what you do in technology and then launch into what you look for.
Sure. So my name's Laurelie. I work for SAP. My role in SAP is I work on putting together proposals for customers who want to implement SAP software. So I have to listen to what the customer wants, understand what it will take to deliver that need, price up what that might cost through the efforts, and then, work on quotes and contracts and that sort of thing. Formerly, I was an architect with SAP for many years. So I guess that was a good background to then working on this role. So ICT, I've been involved with ICT now for, since almost the beginning, not quite. And so what do I look for when I'm judging? Now, I've judged pretty much every year level, state finals, national finals. And so the key things I look for when judging is it's not just about the what. It's not about what you've done. Yes, that's important. Yes, we want to know that. But it's about how did you get there? How did you choose it? How did you solve problems? How did you work as a team? So a lot of that is also important in understanding how a different entrant or entrant team arrived at what they're delivering. Different projects will be complete working models. Others might be conceptual early prototypes. Others, and depending on whether it's a robotics or a programming or a mobile app or whatever it is, there's all different categories as well. So in looking about that, how people got there, how they spread work among the team, where they got their inspiration, how they problem solved are often the insights that give us the differentiation when we're trying to rank the teams. It is a competition. We do need to rank people. It's part of what it's about. And another thing that is important that's changed over time, in the early days, entrants would need to write their own code, come up with things on their own. The world's so very different now. So you'll find most entrants are using, if it's a code-based thing that they've done, they've written a game, they've written some kind of application to help. They'll use reference code and sample code from places. That's not bad. That's clever. That's working smart. So, there's some of the different things we ask about when I'm judging.
Fantastic. Thanks, Laurelie. I assume that pause meant that you were finished. Fantastic. Salvam, you might want to come in second. If you could just spend a couple of minutes just telling the people on the call what your role is within technology, and then launch into what you're looking for in terms of judging the kids' projects. Salvam, you are on mute.
Yes, as always. Technology guy doesn't know how to unmute the button. How cool is that? Yeah. Thanks, man. My name is Selvam Venugopal. So my role is a senior customer success partner. What it means in SAP is that we sell software and solutions to our customers, multiple customers. And my role is to make sure the customers use those solutions and derive value and outcome from those solutions. So in my role, I basically work as an advisor to work with the customers, also with an SAP team, to bring the best solution for the customer to meet their business outcomes and become successful. So that's what my role is. So with ICT, like Laurelie, I've been with this since long ago, can't even remember how many years. Back in the days, we were able to conduct all those things face-to-face. I remember multiple places when we went to the universities, we got all the students in the buses coming over, presenting all those things. Whole day event, fantastic. Now, after COVID, it's all online now. Yeah. Now, it's still good. So what I like, or what I do when I do judging from the students is that first I enjoy the conversations. I ask the students to be engaged and explaining things, all those things. Mainly that my criteria I'm looking for is that the innovations, what they bring. It's not the how much they produced and what is the creativity they bring, how they think. Are they thinking purely from a textbook academic perspective or a broader sense community perspective or even a social perspective? They're trying to solve a major big problem. That to me is the number one, because a lot of the things they can learn in their life, and this kind of a thinking, if it comes from the right at the beginning, it's going to be huge. The second thing I would be looking on is that how much efforts they put it. So having the idea is one. Have they gone through the process of, okay, is this idea workable? Can I build it and do it and complete it together? So the thinking process, what they've gone through, irrespective of what output they produced. So in some cases, they may not even have a prototype. They may not have even a solution, but the fact that they've gone through the process and produced that matters for quite a bit. The third one is how they work as a team. If it is an individual project, that doesn't come into picture, but if it is a team, how well they accommodate and engage with the rest of the students and bring those outcomes to the solutions or anything, and how they present it to the last one. So at the end of the day, that matters. So they might have done a lot of work in the industry community. When they go to the work, they need to know how to communicate, how to do the presentation. So I mean, to me, those are all main criteria. So that's what is ICT is guidelines or choice ranking the students. I hate ranking, but as Laurelie said, but that's what we should do. That's the primary thing I'm looking forward. So far, it's been a good experience. Thanks, man.
Great. Thank you, Selvum. And Ijari, over to you for some final insights, I guess.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, my name's Ijari. I am a program manager of big technology programs. So currently I'm working at Australian Retirement Trust on some of their big challenges. And what that means is that I usually look after teams that are quite technical in terms of their different skill sets in technology. And my job is really to bring them all together and make sure that they're producing the outcomes that the business wants to see in the technology that they have, whether they want to improve it, upgrade it, or change it, and making sure that the work that they do helps the people in the organisation do their job better. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, what I do. So some of the things that I look for when the teams are presenting their work is how they work through things they couldn't fix. So I think some of the other judges have mentioned this already. So when you got stuck at a particular point and something wasn't working the way that you intended it to, how did you fix the problem? How'd you go about that as a team or as an individual? And sometimes you might talk about going and looking for more information. So what sort of research you did and how that helped you make different decisions or better decisions along the way. The other two things are probably around what idea you started off with and how that might have changed along the journey of producing your project. And sometimes what we imagine we're going to put together isn't necessarily what we end up with. And so understanding how you went through that and again, how you made decisions about what to do or not to do is probably something that I look for in terms of the way that you got to where you ended up. And how did you check what you built? So sometimes you might check that with the intended customer. So who's your intended user? And you might have done a little bit of testing along the way or at the end. Or you might have done some other form of testing to check that what you were building was working the way that you wanted it to work. And lastly, we do want to understand how each team member contributed when there is a team. So if you are in a team, it's really important to be able to tell us who contributed in which way, and all your skills are valuable in a team. And so we want to see how that sort of worked as you worked your way through the project.
Great, thank you, Ijari. So there you have it. You've heard from some three very experienced judges with some really good pointers there and tips about how your kids need to be presenting to the judges. Do we have any questions at this point in time? Okay, well, I have some questions, so I'm going to ask a couple of things, if that's all right, guys, just to get the ball rolling, and hopefully I might inspire some other people more. I guess I'm pretty shy, so it's good that I'm getting up and doing this. So hopefully other people will follow my lead and ask a few questions as well. I want to know about documentation. So we asked the students to provide some documentation around what their project's about, something for you guys to have a look at before you come in and talk to them about their projects, whether it be looking at it via a video or via a Zoom presentation. How important is that documentation to you as judges, and how detailed does it need to be? And I don't mind who answers the question, so I'm just going to throw it out there to one of our 3 judges.
I'll answer.
Sorry, go ahead, Laurie.
Sure. I was just going to say, I mean, you can add, Selvum.
Yeah.
I mean, so documentation is important. It's very important to what you're doing, because as a judge, there's only a finite amount of time you can spend. We get the documentation before the judging. So part of the judging role is to pre-read that documentation so that you know what a particular project is about. How detailed does it need to be? That's a little bit of a piece of string, but it needs to be enough to say, this is my idea, this is how I put it together, these are my results, and then also address, as Iari said, the challenges as well that you faced. So it doesn't need to be a 50-page document. It can be in whatever format works for you, a PowerPoint deck, a Word document, a website you've built to put your documentation in if you're in the more senior grades, whatever it might be. But I find it very valuable, and it certainly is a part of what you look at to inform your understanding of what was involved in a particular project, producing what they're sharing with us on the judging day.
Thank you. Selvum, Ijari, anything to add to Laurelie's points?
Yeah, I can add to that. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, to me, documentation is one of the criteria as well, because I consider it as part of the communication. So communication is not only speaking along with documenting, writing what they actually produce. That's for 2 reasons. One, I'm trying to prepare the student in the future, like you teachers, you do all the time. So in the future, they need to know how to document and how to present to the wider community. So documentation is primary criteria. The second one is that if they want to refer back in the future, so they go to the job market at somewhere for interview. Oh, I did this project in ICT. I didn't win the prize, but I did it. They can show this as an evidence. So it is good for them to encourage the students to prepare the documents. So that's what I'm looking at it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Selvum around evidence. It's your evidence of the things that you did, that you tested, that you've researched, the idea that you started off with, and your results at the end. In terms of level of detail, as the other judges have said, it can be a little bit tricky, but maybe think about the consistency through the different phases of your project of documentation. So if you started off with 1 page for your idea, then we would assume that you will have 1 page as you work through a particular phase, and then another page as you work through another phase, and then maybe a page at the end. But it's just that consistency so that we can see that you were thinking about different things as you worked your way through the solution. So it's really just that evidence that of all the stuff that you did and went through. And sometimes we see that there are also little videos that get embedded into the documentation around how the different phases looked, or what the different function of your product was at different parts of your project. So that's also another way of capturing how you're going on the project. But yes, we do spend quite a bit of time going through the documents, and we do read quite a lot of the information you send through to ensure that we're really clear about how thorough and how thought through your idea was. So it's really very helpful for us as judges.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I was just going to add to that, though, of course, Ijari, absolutely agree with everything said, but of course, it's age appropriate. So our expectation of the documentation produced by a grade 4 entrant versus a grade 12 entrant will be quite different. So I just didn't want to freak out anybody who might be, in a primary school thinking they've got to do a ton of stuff, although interestingly, tend to find better documentation from the lower grades than what we get from the more senior grades, who might just say, oh, look, I built this thing and here it is, So So yeah, absolutely. It's always very, year level appropriate expectations that we have.
Thank you, Laura Lee. And just going on to that point now, your point about age appropriateness. When you're looking at the judging criteria, that also is age appropriate. So what's innovative and creative to a year 3-4 student is completely different to the skills and knowledge and creativity and innovations that a year 11 and 12 or a high school student will bring to the competition. So we need to remember that the 3s and 4s are primary grades are just starting on their journey. They have a limited amount of knowledge there, whereas the older years have so much more knowledge that they can work with. So just remember that too, as you're helping your kids through their projects. I'm going to be a question hog and ask another question now, if I can remember what it was. In terms of Zoom presentations, I guess there are 2 questions around this. And in terms of the Zoom presentations, do you prefer to see Zoom presentations where you get to interact with the students? And how useful, I guess, are the video submissions where the students create a video and talk you through their project via a video? They don't actually present it via Zoom. So that's the first question. What do you think is a better way for kids to go? I understand not all kids can present via Zoom, so they do a video for some reason, but if they have the option to do one or the other, what would you suggest? And how should students prepare themselves in terms of giving a Zoom presentation? Who wants to handle that one? Ijari, do you want to start that one off?
Thank you. I know that for some kids it can be quite a nerve-wracking prospect to do a presentation in front of the judges. But I would say that is my personal preference because we get to ask questions. And I think if we only see a video, it's hard to do that. And even with my adult team members, when they have to do presentations, they practice. So even with adults, we still have to practice because we know we're going to get nervous. So I would always suggest that teams or individuals practice in front of their friends and maybe in front of their mums and dads or their teachers as well, and have a few goes at practicing what you'd like to present. We have seen teams that do a combination. They do an in-person presentation and they also play a video. So that can always go quite nicely if you can get the tech going, because that I think has been the challenge in the past, to get a video playing and be in person at the same time.
Great, thank you. Laura Lee, Salvam, anything to add to that wise advice from Ijari?
No, great advice. Totally agree. In-person Zoom is optimal because we can ask questions, because if there's something that would help us understand and then assess an entry, we have that opportunity, but we appreciate it's not always possible. So if your student or, is doing a submission that's video only, try and think that we care about not just what you've built, but how you did it, how you address challenges, those things we raised before.
Yeah, I can just add one more on that. It's a very well said, Laura and Yari. The interaction is the key. Video is a one-way communication. And for the students, ICT is much more than the technology projects and everything, in my opinion. So I want the students to learn much more in terms of communication, in terms of team working, in terms of solving a solution and presenting to the people, face the challenges. That's the experience I would like to get the students to go through. Primary, secondary, etc. Again, age appropriate, all those things. And we as a judges, we are very, very accommodative, very friendly. We wanted to make sure students comfortable. We want to help the teachers the students to go through that process as well. That's why face-to-face interaction is important for me. Unavoidable situations, video is fine. Like I said, video is one-way communication. You just rely on the interpreter, interpret the video and judge you accordingly.
Fantastic. Thank you, Salvam. I think, what was I about to say? I think the video judging is so much harder. If you're putting a video together, what you need to do is you kind of have to anticipate what questions the judges might ask, and you have to incorporate answering that stuff in your presentation, in your video presentation. You only get 8 minutes to put a video presentation together. So I think it's less work, might be more daunting, but it's a good life skill for the students to practice anyway. Come and present to the judges. If they miss a question, they miss something that they should have told the judges. The judges are very good at drawing that information and questions out of the students. So it's a lot easier, I think, on the student to actually just come and present in person to the judges. That would be my preference as a judge. A few times I have judged. Plus, we have 3 judges, 2 or 3 judges, or 4 judges sometimes in the video session so they can talk about the projects and they can nut them out afterwards and come to some sort of agreement. With the video submissions, they're doing it more solo. They do it in their own time as well. So it's I don't think it's as thorough an avenue to talk to the kids about as doing it face-to-face through Zoom. So sorry, that was a bit clumsy coming out, but you all know what I mean there. So that would be my preference as well. I'm just thinking, is there anything else we need to know? I think the point about preparing is really, really important. If you're doing a Zoom presentation, students only get 5 minutes to present to the judges. So they have to have everything down pat. They have to have that elevator pitch. Doesn't need to be perfect, but they need to cover off all the key points in those 5 minutes. And then the judges have 5 minutes to ask questions. So it really, really is important to judge, to practice. I find that you can tell the students that come in and don't practice. They don't know what they're talking about. They've received no mentoring. They've received no help from their parents or their teachers or whatever. So it really, really is important to prepare. And those kids that know and can present coherently to the judges about what they're doing are the kids that normally come in with placements. So that would be my advice as well. I don't think I've got anything to add. Anybody on the call, are there any questions? Any teachers on the call, any questions around what you've heard or discussed today? Any potential new or any new judges? Any questions? Look at that. We're going to finish a little bit earlier, I think. I've got no more questions. I think we've covered off very well. I think we've done quite well today. To those people on the call that are new judges coming in this year, later on, sometime in July, I will be having a judging session just to go through the process and what's involved. And I'll do a couple of sessions so that if you can't make one, you can make the other. So look forward to that invite. To all the teachers on the call today, thank you so much for your time. I hope you found the session valuable and that you've got some good pointers and tips out of it. If you have any other questions or about today or any questions at any point in time, please reach out to me. My email is on the ICT website. My phone number is on the ICT website. I'm too happy to answer any questions. Ijari, Laurelie, and Salvam, thank you so much for your time today. You guys are awesome. You're awesome judges, and it's awesome that you gave up your time today to help us navigate some of the complexities around ICT and the processes there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Look forward to working with you again this year. I hope you're going to be involved too, Ijari, this year.
Yes, of course.
Yes, fantastic. I'll add you into the mix. That's great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Erin, do you want to stay on the line for 1 second?
Yes.
Okay. Todd's gone. What I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to make you a co-host. How are you, Erin?
Yeah.
How was Ireland?
Ireland was great. Yeah, good to see the family. So yeah, I had a lovely time.
What I'm worried about is I'm going to stop the recording and see what happens.
Yeah.